I said, I'm going to tell you what, you better have them, if you're drilling around here, you better have a map. I says, and you better have it recorded, because if I find out you come through here, I said, you think you got troubles now? Let me find out you come underneath here. And he says, you don't own that. And I said, you don't either, buddy. I said, it's still in litigation. It's called migrating. Were you aware of that?
What, your rights right now?
That thing can migrate. In other words, it's like water. That's why you can't claim water. Mm-hmm. You know, you can go any stream in here, any stream around here, and walk up the center of that stream, and nobody can say a word to you. That's not your water. That's God's water. And if He don't want you to have it, He's going to take it. And He give a good message with this thing down the Gulf. So anyhow, like I say, they got that one ocean graphics, whatever. They just nailed them for tax evasion. Then I see where BP got a hold of all these other outfits, and they want them to help them with the finances now. So my theory is this here. You can't be going around here. A woman called me today and said some farmer up here in Buffalo got $6 million for signing. They're going to get $33,000 a month. And I said, it's us poor stiffs are going to have to pay for this road maintenance after they're gone. When there's nothing going to be left but, hey, well, after we're done, there's just that little old green tank, right? That's on the top, what you can see. How about underneath what you don't see and they didn't get out? You know, you took algebra. What did X represent? Think. What did X represent in that algebra? You had to work to get it. What was it? The unknown. That's what'll kill you. It ain't what you know that's what is it? For the 5 million gallons of whatever they put down in there, what is it? 2 or 3 million stay there. They don't come out. And then I let that guy know today. I said, you know, when you corner them, like this one guy, they had that goon up there as a shock absorber, and he said, hey, how about the health? How about these people's health and that? About breathing all these fumes? And the guy don't say nothing. Guess what? The next day in a picture, that beautiful farmette, I don't know where it's at, or if it even exists, or someone drawed it. We're good neighbors too. Well, if you're good neighbors, what the hell are you doing around here making it rough for us neighbors? You know what I'm trying to say? We're just, go somewhere else, move on. I told them, look, I said, I'll tell you, I'll sign this lease. If you just move on and give someone else these headaches, why are you centering around here? I said, Hopewell Township, I've been around here since 1977. That's when I built this house, 77. If you're going to pull something, pull it in Hopewell, because there's nobody to stop. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? You know, they I don't know if they're apathetic, complacent, or whatever. You know, well, I told the guy today there from Jesse's office. He says, because all you hear is like all the DEP, the EPA, the XYZ, whatever. Boy, hey, it's up to the local township here. I said, well, I'm going to tell you what. Now think of this. They're worthless as an ashtray on a motorcycle. That's not too impressive, is it? And I told that politician up there the other day, I said, I'm going to tell you what, buddy. I says, you know, you talk about taking all this money from these people and being obligated. Now just think what I'm going to tell you right now. A hot dog, okay, is the only animal that feeds the hand that bites him. Did you catch that one? Think on that one. Did you get it? Did you get it? You know, in other words, you don't ever bite the hand that feeds you. Well, the hot dog is the only one that bites the hand that feeds him. So, you know, it's big money. And from what I understand, they're, what's the word the guy used? They're on the edge of it. I can't think of the word. It's not maxed out, but in other words, they're just operating on a shoestring. You know what I mean? Like I say, how can you pay all these people all this money? You know, I'm going to tell you how bad it was. I could not get rid of this guy, this land agent or whatever he was. Now, there's my neighbor up there and his brother. They got this dairy farm down there. Do you know that they sent both of them guys after me to tell me that I was going to get $500 a month? Guess what I told them about this $500 a month? To give me the paper, I'll give it to them bums down there. I worked all my life. If I can't get my hands dirty, this is my personal. If I don't get my hands dirty for it, I don't want it. He didn't. You ought to see. You ought to see. He looked at me like a possum eating barbed wire. I said, "Give it to them bums down there." And I said, "I'm going to show you how dumb you people are. It just happened that the tax liens come out. Just that week, you know. I said, look here. I said, between the two of them, they owed $20,000. It was ready to foreclose. You could have got the whole goddamn hog, every hog on the farm for $50 grand. That guy, first he said I was bullshitting. When I went and got that, he looked at that and he says, oh, he was going to have the big one, you know. I said, that shows how dumb you are. You guys didn't do your homework. I said, these guys been. I said they've been milking that thing since the mother died. I said, they've been exploiting it. You know what I mean? They sold the timber, all you name it. That way, when you don't work, what are you going to do? This was a blessing for them. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like these guys told me, they screwed up. He says, they hired a lawyer for $7,000. If they disturb one piece of dirt on their property, they got to pay them $100,000. These guys have that in writing. These ones didn't. These ones didn't. See, now they're fighting. See, what they were doing, they were leasing off of these ones over here. They were leasing their property. Well, when they put this road and that thing in up there, they had to pay them for crop damage. Guess what happened? You're going to like this one. It had to go through these fellows first because they owned the property. Now they won't let them have the check. They said, that's their check. Wait a minute, it was our crop damage. So you see, this broke up a lot of friends, enemies, made enemies of neighbors, relatives. I know family, there's 8 of them. They ain't talking to one another now because of this. You know, this is, well, the old-timers had a name for it. It's called dirt money or blood money. It's like when you sue someone, it comes back to haunt you. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And not only did these 2 boys come to me and told me that I would get $500 a month, said you would get a sign-in bonus, which I knew, you know. And he said, you get more than what they wanted. I said, look, I don't even want it. So he said I was going to get $500 a month. I said, well, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do for you boys. You're going to get all this money. He said, why don't you just buy this house off of me? I said, even if you don't do nothing with it, you're going to get $500 a month. Let it sit here. Mm-hmm. I said, you can't get that on your money in the bank. So they didn't know what to say. You know what I mean? But it's an ugly situation. And you read that article, the guy put in the paper about the runaway train?
No.
Did any of you? Yeah, he commenced to say why he called this a runaway train. It's getting out of control. You know, it may get to the point where it's irreversible. You know, like I told this guy today, I said, did you read in there? See, they've been on their tail about all these chemicals down there. Now do you see where Home on the Range Recourse has come out with a biodegradable chemical? You know what I told that guy? I said, you know, buddy, that reminds me of the guy that invented the universal solvent. Listen to this. He was going to be a billionaire. He went broke. Guess why? He couldn't find a container to ship it in. You catch that one?
I did.
Yeah, so where's this stuff going? It's biodegrading, but where?
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
You know, I come up with a real good one. This is one of my originals. There's 3 things you can't stop. Think now: wind, water, and reproduction. I said, when you fellas figure that out, come see me. I'll sign any paper you want. I'll get a board on that one. You didn't know that, did you? Mm-hmm. You can't stop water. You can't stop wind. And you can't stop reproduction. If you could, we wouldn't be here talking, right? That's what got you here.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Who's going to stop it?
You know, sometimes I just get so disgusted. I haven't had a good night's sleep here, so I don't know. So, but anyhow, I'm working on this poem. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to use, like, it was the night before Christmas, but I'm going to say it was the day. It was the day before Easter. All was quiet. Nothing was stirring. Not even a mouse. I heard this awful clatter. I jumped to my feet to see what was the matter. There was no Donner. There was no Dixon. There was no Prancer. But there was a guy there from Range Recourses that had all the answers. I'm not going to say there was 8 tiny reindeer. I'm going to big trucks and right there. I'm just giving you a little bit of highlights, okay? Uh-huh. This is how I think. Uh-huh. I called my congressman and he said, quote, I'd like to help you, son. My hands are tied. Don't rock the boat. He says, that boat pays a lot of taxes. I said, I agree with you, Mr. Congressman. Before you gloat, remember one thing, that boat don't vote. So I think I'm going to create a masterpiece. I've just got to get it going.